This episode is brought to you by Pine Melon. This holiday season, let Pine Melon make your Christmas prep simple and stress-free. From fresh local ingredients to holiday staples like lamb racks and ham, they have everything you need to create a memorable feast. Avoid the holiday rush and enjoy the convenience of grocery delivery right to your door. Use code CityCastDenver to get $35 off your first order of $75 or more. Support local farmers and makers while making your holidays brighter with Pine Melon. Just go to pinemelon.com to make your grocery order today. That's pinemelon.com. This episode is brought to you by Meow Wolf. Bring your favorite humans to explore Acana, a festival of epic winter merriment at Meow Wolf Denver on select days in December. Explore this wonderland of art and exploration now at a discounted price. Get a 4-pack of regular admission tickets for 25% off. Just use code 4PACK at checkout when you purchase your tickets online. That's number 4, PACK, to get 25% off. Some blockout dates apply. Learn more at meowwolf.com. That's meowwolf.com.
Today on CityCast Denver, Governor Jared Polis is now so eager to get the Trump administration's attention, he's taking a literal table saw to regulations. But maybe that's exactly what Colorado's flagging economy needs? Stand-up comedian Joshua Emerson joins me to dig into the data. Plus, a smoking hot take on Denver's proposed flavored tobacco ban from a listener. And we want your help deciding what should be Denver's word of the year. Today is Tuesday, December 17th. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. All right, let's get started. It's Tuesday. We're doing the news roundup. Our regular host, Bree Davies, is not here with us this week, unfortunately, so I invited one of our favorite regular guests, Joshua Emerson. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, it's me, Josh Emerson. I'm Navajo and funny.
Yeah, stand-up comic, one of the funniest in town, and now a documentarian. I wanted to ask you about right off the top. How's it going, the release?
You know what? It's going great. Shout out. We're in Denver, Westward right now. Westward wrote an article. Tony, shout out Tony for really writing articles about the comedy community. I think it's been so cool to have sort of Westward like putting those stories out there. I think that has real power, and I'm very grateful for it.
But you in the documentary, I mean, I know you just did a screening this past weekend of the Dairy Block. Is there going to be another chance for people to see it?
Yes. I mean, I could throw some names out there: Mutiny, Information Cafe, Buntport Theater, maybe even the Dairy up in Boulder. We're talking to a couple different people, but the goal is we have 2 more weeks left of our crowdfunding campaign, and we're going to be doing a couple more screenings that last week of January.
Well, if this is
December.
If this is the first time you're hearing of it, I highly recommend going to one of those. Joshua made a new documentary called Bad Indian about the comedy show that you produced for Netflix, an all-native lineup, and it's the first ever, but really more about you, honestly. I mean, it's kind of a memoir about your mom's passing, and how do you describe it?
Yeah, there's a line in there talking about are you happy? And then my uncle pushes back and says, I'm not happy. I really care more about if I'm in harmony. And the documentary is sort of about how the grief of my mother's passing inspired me to pursue comedy in a real way, and sort of how you can be grateful for the grief.
It's an incredible movie. I saw it a few months ago. Lucky to see it. Yeah, so we'll put a bunch of links in the show notes for people to go watch it. And we have our own event to promote. Tonight, as people are hearing this, Tuesday, I'm hosting with one of our other contributors, Deep Singh Badesha. We're moderating a debate for the vacancy election for State Senate District 31.
How many people?
Right now?
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're giving away, there's 100 seats and 70 have been claimed so far, which I'm honestly blown away by, because this is an election most people can't even vote in. It's only like 110 people can even vote in this thing.
Right.
So, I mean, that's the exciting part for me, is it's normally a pretty secretive process, but we're bringing it out into the open, and you can come if you want. If you want a little politics, a little in your Christmas season, you're welcome to join. Town Hall Collaborative tonight at probably around 7 we'll get started.
How exciting.
Yeah, and more business, actually. We're hiring. I don't know if you know this, Joshua, but
I don't.
Our newsletter editor, Peyton Garcia, is pregnant.
Oh, congratulations, Peyton.
I know. It's so great. But that means that she's going to take some time off, and we need someone to write our newsletter. So if you're a great writer who loves Denver, newsletters, apply at the link in the show notes. Join our team for a few months next year. It's a great team, great people. We'd love to have you.
They're all very nice. I will say that. Overly nice. Sometimes it's hard to how nice they are.
Thanks for saying that.
That's my endorsement.
Okay, should we get to our first topic?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, this one's kind of a fun one. I kind of want to hear what listeners think about this too. But the word of the year here in Denver, what would it be? Oxford University Press, they announced theirs earlier this month. They said brain rot was the word of the year.
Pretty good word.
I think that was, that was good. That put a smile on my face. And it edged out what I maybe even think would be more appropriate, which is slop, like AI slop. I really liked. And then the other one that I saw was for national was polarization. Merriam-Webster picked polarization,
which felt kind of political, to be honest. It's interesting when the dictionaries are getting political. I love brain rot because I sympathize with it so much in terms of just doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok over and over again, just to sort of numb myself away. Brain rot, it spoke to me. What about you?
I mean, I felt it this year, although I have my defenses up for it all the time.
Really?
I think about my media diet like very keenly. Every few weeks I'll go through and I'll be like, what's serving me? What's not serving me? Who are these people? Like, who are the new voices? And I don't do TikTok. I don't do a lot of like algorithmically generated content. YouTube, like YouTube Shorts.
YouTube Shorts, or even just YouTube in general. I guess where are you consuming your content from?
I'm on YouTube a little bit. I got some people.
Is it mostly newspapers and?
I don't know. I mean, blogs, all sorts of things, magazines.
Interesting.
I mean, I definitely felt it though. Brain rot is real.
Yeah.
I witnessed it.
Can we throw a couple other new words from
Sure.
2024 out?
Sure.
Crashing out. I think that was my 2024 word, which it got popular on TikTok. It really, it's like to express emotions of disappointment or anger. But really, you see some of the examples of crashing out. It's extreme. It turned up. And I saw a lot of examples of crashing out.
Did you see it in Denver?
Yes and no. I mean, it was an election year, and we're a purple state, and so I guess it goes with that polarization word as well.
Yeah. What else for Denver? Do you got any just for Denver?
I mean, nothing new for 2024. Just like saw, dude. Like, I feel like not enough people. No, you don't. You hate that word. You don't like
what word? Saw,
dude. No.
Saw. I don't know. This is the first I've ever heard of it. What is this?
It's like sup. You know what I mean? Like, what's up? I think you have to, the root word is what's up, okay? And it gets broken down to sup, and then it's just saw.
Okay. Right. Well, listeners, if you've heard saw, if that's your word of the year for Denver in 2024, let us know. I put a post up on the Denver subreddit for asking what people thought.
What did they say?
Mostly they were not happy that I was there asking the question. But what do you think about these? So one person was like expired tags.
Expired tag? That's funny.
Yeah, so far, I mean, we saw the police go for a push and cracking down on that, so that was okay.
Yeah, it hit us. Yeah, 250. It was tough.
Most of these were just kind of mean, like mediocrity. Someone was like, that's Denver's word of the year. Ugh, exhaustion. That feels...
that one I get.
I get that too. Newcomers.
That's every year, I mean,
I feel like it's mostly last year. We had the big debate over the mayors sending all the new money to the newcomers and opening the shelters and stuff.
That's fair enough.
Service fee.
Okay. Yeah. That one feels very like, okay, boomer-esque, but fine.
Yeah. Construction.
Yeah. I mean, that's very...
It's always.
Yeah.
Every year. I like service fee. Service fee kind of touches on what I was trying to get to with mine, which is like this whole debate over value at restaurants. Like, what's a good value? Why are prices going up? I mean, we'll talk about that in our next topic a little bit. But my pick for word of the year for Denver was vacancy.
Oh, interesting. That, it sort of goes with like 16th Street Mall or something like that. That idea of we haven't fully realized ourselves post-COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we got all the vacancies still downtown. We got all these restaurants that are going out of business, leaving vacancies. And then the other thing, I mean, not to promote this event again, but this issue at the legislature about, lawmakers leaving their seats early and then these small committees of party insiders picking replacements. Apparently like a third of our state legislature is picked that way. And so, I don't know, to me, that really became more present this year. I get that that's not the biggest issue of the year, but.
It's pretty big. You want a democratic government to be selected democratically, and when a third of it is not, that's tough.
Yeah. So vacancy, that was mine. I asked my wife, she said takeover.
Takeover? Why?
For the whole Tren de Aragua thing, the whole the gang has taken over Aurora. They've taken over these apartment buildings. Just playing on that whole.
I guess maybe.
I mean, it was a big story.
Yeah, I think people were more excited that the Denver Broncos are good again.
Have you been watching?
Well, now that they're good, yeah, the past 3 games, just to sort of the fact that Bo Nix is like finally after the 12 quarterbacks that they've gone through to get to Bo Nix, and he's young, and it's really cool. It's cool to see something like start to emerge, you know what I mean? I think I jumped on when he, I think it was against the Raiders when he's like backed up on the goal line through that touchdown pass. Yeah, really cool.
That was a big one.
Do you like sports? Do you know what football is?
A couple years ago, I decided to become a big football fan.
Ooh.
And now I'm so in. Me and my brother-in-law were watching the Broncos on Sunday, and I mean, it was a blast.
Great.
It was a great game. It was kind of a sloppy game, but looks like they're going to make the playoffs.
I know.
That's exciting.
It is. Anything can happen.
Anything could happen.
That's right. We have the MVP of the NBA, the NHL. We have the Heisman winner. Hey, why not throw a Super Bowl in there?
Why not?
Yeah.
I'll put in a good word.
Okay,
give them a little extra boost.
Good.
Just let them know, hey, I'd be happy if you guys could do it this year.
It seems like you would be a huge like fantasy football guy. I feel like if you did get into football, like you like those analytics of it. Yeah.
If anyone out there's got a league, invite me. I'll say yes. I want in. That's I was not known as a football guy for so long, but yes, I would love to join one. All right, we're going to have to leave it there, but we want to hear from you. What do you think should be Denver's word of the year? What is the one word that sums up the year that was in the Mile High City? The phone number is 720-500-5418. Text us your name, your neighborhood. Leave us a voicemail, 720-500-5418. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be back with something else.
This episode is brought to you by Denver Health. Denver Health wants you to think about something very important: life-saving mammograms. Breast cancer can affect anyone, but the good news is that with early detection, it can be caught and removed early. That's why getting regular mammograms is so critical. The breast care team at Denver Health is committed to helping catch breast cancer early when treatment is most effective. A mammogram is quick, non-invasive, and can make all the difference. If you're 40 or older or have a family history of breast cancer, don't wait. Early detection saves lives. Take control of your health. Visit denverhealth.org/mammogram to schedule your appointment. That's denverhealth.org/mammogram. This episode is brought to you by the University of Denver. The University of Denver wants to congratulate their own men's soccer team for a great season. This year, the team made it past the quarterfinals for only the second time in program history. The team exemplifies all the qualities that make DU different, and the university recognizes all the hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. DU prioritizes academics as well as championship athletics, and the school's 4D experience fosters greatness in student athletes. The school is proud to be Denver's home for college sports. Learn more about DU athletics at denverpioneers.com. That's denverpioneers.com.
All right, let's get to our big story.
Sure.
This is an interesting one that I knew I wanted to talk to you about because you have a mind for these kinds of things. Interesting topic really all year, and definitely not good news, but a new report from CU Boulder's Leeds School of Business found that Colorado's economy has taken a turn. Our GDP growth was in the top 5 of the country for 15 years, but in 2024, according to this new report, our growth ranked 41st out of 50 states. How do you interpret that kind of data, Joshua? Just right at the top, the headline there.
Yeah. So one thing I want to point out is that we're still growing, and that this growth is compared to our growth in past years. It's not talking about the size of our economy. So in terms of like actual GDP versus, some place like Nebraska, which might have a higher growth this year for whatever reasons, is that our economy is still more healthy and stronger and larger, even though our growth has slowed down behind them. So when I was looking at this, it really just spoke to me in terms of that we're sort of starting to get back in that cycle of expanding and then slowing the growth and expanding again. I think one of the things that most Denverites have sort of felt is this sort of housing that buying a house sort of feels like, especially if you're a millennial or younger, kind of like this pipe dream in the Denver metro area.
Yeah.
And renting has continued to rise and rise. And I saw some of the indicators that mentioned in the article talking about how we're sort of slowly, these past couple of years, we've been able to add more and more units finally.
Like a record-breaking amount of apartment
Yes.
construction, 30,000 units in the last 2 years.
Right, which is good because we've been in a deficit for so long that we need to catch up. And so hopefully we have a couple more years where we can sort of catch up from all the growth that everybody experiences when it comes to construction, when it comes to just how expensive things are at the grocery store. It didn't worry me because sort of what drives the Colorado economy, the mountains, the energy sector, the information sector, I still feel like they're going to be important, or like evergreen. You know what I mean? Those things are still going to be adding jobs. It's just going to change from year to year how that growth looks, how quickly it's happening. But I think it's going to continue to always be there.
Interesting you bring up housing. I mean, apartments we talked about, but the home buying was one data point that really jumped out at me from this Denver Post write-up on this report. Was they said that people might be a little bit excited about this because the average annual home price growth in Colorado ranked 49th.
Good.
So relative to other states, this year it became a little bit easier to buy a home.
Yeah, and I think that's necessary. I think it's sort of been overinflated by, again, just those industries that are growing, that technology, that finance. We're getting so many people from out of state coming for good jobs here that increase those prices to make it unreachable for most of the people living in this state.
Let me get you some more data here because I think this is interesting. I don't know how people are feeling this, but this is new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It was just alluded to in this article. Over the last 12 months, and this is a lot of numbers, so I might read it twice. Over the last 12 months, the consumer price index for urban customers in the metro region, so that's just like Denver, advanced 2.0%. So that's like inflation, 2%. Right. The index for all items apart from food and energy increased 2.5%. And the food index specifically rose 3.6%. So food prices grew faster than other prices. Meanwhile, energy prices declined 8.1%, largely the result of the decrease in the natural gas service index. Do you find any meaning in that?
I mean, we're a huge natural gas state, and it's a big portion of why our gas is so cheap. I worry about the food thing because that's something that everybody needs. And it's something that, how much we're going to pay for food, our price and difference, it's pretty steep on that. And so you always need to buy food. And so nobody can they can't cut back on eating food, I guess. You know, it's terrifying, right?
Yeah.
That's how revolutions start.
Yeah.
And so that scares me way more than the energy aspect. What about you?
No, I feel the same way. Although it is a little bit interesting to me because like the food thing, the fact that like the prices for food rose faster than the rest of costs, to me, that makes me think about all these restaurateurs we've heard talk about how hard it is to run a business in Denver. And they say like it's a whole variety of factors. It's things like this. It's the price of food, like how much it costs to get, chicken wings from Cisco. But it's also when they talk about the minimum wage system here in Denver. They talk about how much they have to pay servers versus back of house people. And they talk about tipping and how like the unique tipping laws make it so much more difficult for them to pay their staff and how much that takes out of their overhead. So when I see like the inflation for food so high relative to the rest of costs, I think like maybe that's the reason why they're having so much difficulty and not the minimum wage problems. So I'm thinking like the debate that I would have predicted we would be having about minimum wage around at the legislature in the new year, like that takes a little bit of the wind out of their sails to make some change to those laws that would probably hurt people who are living on a minimum wage right now.
It's a completely different narrative. It's,
Yeah.
it's something where you can't really blame the labor force for that one. It's just the actual cost of the ingredients to make the food is what's affecting that difficulty in having a thriving food business in this state.
Yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah.
All right, next topic, kind of a subtopic. Another report, this one from the Colorado Chamber of Commerce, so they represent the business community, came out right after that story about the GDP growth slowing. They say that Colorado's economy is the 6th most regulated in the country. So there's a quote from the president of the chamber, Lauren Furman, that I want to hear what you think about. Lauren says, Colorado's regulations are consistently the top concern in every business survey we've conducted in recent years. If we don't get our regulatory climate under control, we're putting future jobs and economic growth at risk. So there's the connection. What do you think about regulations? I feel like we've been talking about that a lot on the show lately.
I mean, I love policy, and I love like watching the effects of policy. If it's true, it'll come out in the wash. In terms of, I mean, it's scary to hear that we're the 6th most regulated economy, but it hasn't stopped the growth over. Like you look from post-COVID, 21, 22, 23, we've had strong growth years, and so even with all that regulation, you were still able to create all this new jobs. Meow Wolf came, Casa Bonita came. So I guess I'm skeptical that that's an overly huge issue. Like I said, like this isn't like an economic slowdown. A slowdown requires the actual GDP to decrease from year to year, whereas our GDP is increasing every year.
We're still seeing the growth.
Right.
Exactly. Did you see this stunt that Governor Polis did last week, by the way, speaking of regulations?
What was it?
He took a table saw. Well, he repealed, I mean, the actual news was he repealed like 208 executive orders last Wednesday.
Yeah.
And so the next day he invited a bunch of reporters and photographers to come take photos of him taking a table saw to all of this huge stack of paperwork that he said was these executive orders. And he was like, we're cutting regulations, we're cutting red tape, we're cutting bureaucracy.
Oh man, that guy's a showman lately.
He really is.
He's really like trying to position it. He's trying to do things that go politically viral, which that's annoying as a constituent, because it really feels you're being a little bit loose with my state. Like, just care about the policy, care less about trying to broadcast that policy to position yourself for your next economic or your next political job. You know, it's bad.
Go back to talking about saving us money.
I liked you better then, you know?
I think his stunts are kind of funny, though. They're so corny. They're so corny.
Even the Mayor Mike Johnson also is, I don't want to say he's corny, but it's just like him like popping up at like rap concerts. And like we have some silly politicians in the Denver metro area.
Definitely. So this PR stunt, the table saw thing, this actually was successful for him, I think.
Good.
He got the attention, finally, he's been begging for this. He got the attention of the Doge people, the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Ramaswamy responded to some of the pictures of the table saw incident on X. He said, quote, "Nice work, Governor of Colorado. Send that shredder over to Doge next month."
That's the other thing. It does seem like he's also like, I'm somebody that can work both sides of the aisle, and in this new Trump's economy, I want to position Colorado to be one of the people that succeeds, because there are going to be winners and losers coming over this next 4 years for sure.
Yeah, that's what I see too. Is like he sees the way the national winds are blowing, and he's flying towards the blue skies. I guess the red skies.
Yeah. Hopefully his TikTok blows up, man. I don't know.
We're pulling for him.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's leave it there on the economy. I mean, we'd love to hear what you all think. Listeners, were you feeling it this year? Did it feel like growth to you? What about your sector? Give us some insight on what's happening in your particular industry here in Denver, because that's the kind of thing I love to drill down on, that kind of stuff.
Do they have a number they can call?
Yeah, they sure do. Joshua, they can call 720-500-5418. Again, the GDP growth hotline is open at 720-500-5418. Let's take one more quick break, and then we'll come back, and we're going to hear from you all, our listeners.
This episode is brought to you by Pine Melon. This holiday season, let Pine Melon make your Christmas prep simple and stress-free. From fresh local ingredients to holiday staples like lamb racks and ham, they've got everything you need to create a memorable feast. Avoid the holiday rush and enjoy the convenience of grocery delivery right to your door. With over 200 local farmers, ranchers, and producers across Colorado, Pine Melon delivers high-quality meats, fresh produce, baked goods, pantry staples, and more straight to your door. Skip the crowded stores and let Pine Melon handle the hard part. No subscriptions required, just same-day delivery in a 2-hour window within Denver and Boulder. Enjoy the convenience of grocery delivery with Pine Melon. And don't forget the code CityCastDenver to get $35 off your first order of $75 or more. Just go to pinemelon.com to make your order today. That's pinemelon.com.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
All right, we're back. It's my favorite part of the show. Every Tuesday, we like to end the show hearing from you all, our listeners. This is an email from Bjorn that we got in response to my conversation with Bree last week about the proposal to ban flavored tobacco sales here in Denver. So Bjorn had just some interesting comments. I wanted to read all of this. It's a little bit critical. Denver CityCast, Bjorn writes, I have to say, you guys seem to have done the bare minimum of research. First of all, you are making the same mistake as the lawmakers when you conflate nicotine and tobacco. Most of the products to be banned do not contain tobacco, nor are they derived from it. They are made by synthesizing nicotine salt. Are you familiar with this whole flavored nicotine debate, Joshua, before I get further into this?
A little bit. I was in the Marine Corps right as Zins were becoming a thing with that nicotine salt.
Oh, yeah.
And saw the movement from going from dip over to Zins. Because Marines, I mean, you want to talk about some nicotine users. The Marines are it. But I never really partook myself.
Interesting. Yeah, I keep hearing, the more I talk to people about this, the more I hear from people who are like, it's great. They love nicotine, and the smoking, and I understand how it's different. It's not the only way to get nicotine is through vaping or smoking. You can do the Zyn, you can do other things. And there's advantages to nicotine. There's benefits. Yes, it's still addictive, but some people really like that. Because of the calming and the focus, I think people say, talk about. Bjorn says, second, you seem very sure of yourselves that we have loads of science confirming that nicotine is awful for you. Again, you're conflating tobacco and nicotine. While nicotine is addictive, it is not a carcinogen. Tobacco is horrible for you, and eliminating its use should be a national goal. Interesting point. I've heard similar arguments from that, although, National Institute of Health and the CDC are where I did the research on all the negative effects as well. I do think there's positives and negatives. Bjorn goes on. Third, this notion that if it tastes good, it must be for kids is preposterous. When you go to the bakery, do you buy the garbage-flavored pastries and cookies? Why not? Are you a child? Why would anyone, man, woman, child, ever pick the thing that tastes bad when something that tastes good exists? Once you turn 18, you're only allowed to have foul-tasting things? My current flavor of vape bar is watermelon ice. Why? Because I like the way it tastes, and I'm 40.
Whoa. That last part is really funny to me. Being I just want fruit flavored things. I'm an adult man and I want fruit flavored things. Okay, man, it's okay. That's great. You're right. You should.
I totally get it though. Yeah. With alcohol, we talked about this last week. They sell Smirnoff in bubblegum flavors. Is that appealing to kids?
Yeah.
Sometimes adults like bubblegum flavored alcohol.
I love a pina colada.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's delicious.
And so, I don't know. I do get why that's kind of, that's a hard part of this policy discussion. Because you are taking that away from adults when you ban flavored tobacco.
That's true. I think that flavored tobacco is more attractive to kids. And I think that he's annoyed that that's also given the consequence of eliminating flavored tobacco on the market, which affects him because he wants to do watermelon mint. What was it?
Watermelon ice.
Oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry.
No, sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's got something there. One last thing from Bjorn. Finally, I'll give a personal anecdote. In 2013 to 2018, I lived in San Francisco. I was a fairly competitive runner, but also hung out with a pretty wild crew on the weekends.
Quit bragging.
My Saturday nights were spent at the dance club and then whiling away the late night afterwards on a rooftop, smoking, drinking, and talking until the wee hours. Again, this sounds great.
Hey, he's a cool guy.
Happy for you, Bjorn. Let's just say the cigarettes were not helping my times as a runner, presumably. My Monday and Tuesday trainings were absolutely miserable. Then came the Juul and all its successors. It was immediately beneficial for me. The shackles were taken off my lungs, and my weekend fun had no impact on my ability to complete track work. That's interesting.
It sounds like a win for you, Bjorn. That sounds like Juuls and just nicotine salts in general sort of fit. And I guess I would fight for you to be able to continue to use them as well. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah?
I understand. Well, just as a part of, he's found something that works for his lifestyle that doesn't really affect too many people, except in like these indirect ways. You know, and so
Yeah.
living. I don't. Yeah.
I think Denver City Council feels the opposite of you. They're voting tonight. Listeners will already know the result, but the final vote in the public comment session is happening tonight as we record this Monday. And it seems like they're going to pass it. And the mayor's on board for this ban. So
is it one of those things like think of the kids?
Definitely. It's one of those things, think of the kids. And we'll look at the data for what the impact is on kids using nicotine and tobacco after this thing likely passes. It probably will go down if they have less access. But yeah, it's too bad for people like Bjorn. Winners and losers when it comes to regulations, like you said.
Sure.
One last note from Bjorn, and we'll say goodbye. I'm no longer a competitive runner, but I still enjoy my vape with beers on the weekend, as do most of my late 30s friends. I'm struggling to understand why I'm getting this taken away because people can't control their kids.
Yeah, and there's a legitimate aspect to that argument. I think there's one of if you don't want your kids to vape, have conversations with them and continue to instill that in them. And maybe sometimes it's a give and take in terms of it. You can't sort of save your kids from the world, no matter how hard you try through policy, and a lot of it is just good parenting.
Yeah, we're talking two childless adults right now. So what do we know?
It's true
about that.
Hey, you're right. Actually, I'm going to shut up. How about that? Is that what everybody wants? I'll shut up. You're right. Thank you.
No, I want you to keep talking. I want you to keep talking, come back and talk to us again. But parents, if you have thoughts on this whole flavored tobacco ban, let us know. 720-500-5418. And honestly, Bjorn, thank you so much for calling in. This is sometimes this kind of feedback is tough to hear, but it's my favorite because it helps me understand the world a little bit better. So if you ever hear something you disagree with or you think we're missing something on the show, please call in 720-500-5418. Joshua, thanks for joining me on the show today.
It's been my absolute pleasure, Paul.
See you next time. That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. If you enjoyed the show, why not take a minute to tell Vivek Ramaswamy about us? Rate the show wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Denver, and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. Don't forget we're hiring. If you know someone or if you are someone who is a great writer and loves Denver, check out the link in the show notes. You can join our team for a little bit next year. See you tonight at the Town Hall Collaborative. Don't miss it. Senate District 31 vacancy election. It'll be fun and festive. I'm going to wear a Santa hat. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. See ya.